This just in, Ja'Marr Chase just scored another touchdown. Ladies and gentlemen, Fourth and Trollers, welcome back to Fourth and Troll Fantasy, the most entertaining fantasy football podcast on the planet. I'm Noah.
And I can't count how many yards Ja'Marr Chase has because I'm not that smart, but I'm Wes Selby.
Yeah, I was going to say I'm Noah, a.k.a. Ja'Marr Chase is my father. So that was fun. Oh, boy. What a game we had on Thursday night. Fun one, barn burner, and we will break it down here for you guys in another episode of Fourth and Troll Fantasy Thursday Night Breakdown. Then we're going to give you some studs and duds for Week 10. Oh my goodness! I'm still just to get it out of the way up front. I faced Ja'Marr Chase this week and Mark Andrews, so just a little added on little fun right there. That was a good time.
I went against Burrow in a league, so not nearly as bad. I can still pull it off because the other guy is last place, but this is. What a start. What a start to Week 10.
I didn't expect to have like a 27% chance to win going into Sunday, but here we are. Welcome back. We're good to go. Make sure you follow us on all our socials. Everything is linked down below. We're always getting content out for you guys. If you go to our Patreon, we're giving away a signed James Cook jersey this season just to a random patron. We'll do that at the end of the year. So make sure you get involved in that. Also, our Discord community is there, and that's a good time as well. Always having fun chats in there, especially during games. Getting good advice, hanging with the community. It's always a good time. We got merch. I'm wearing some. fourthandtrollstore.com. You can find our merch there. You also custom make some merch based on some of the designs that we have. So that's a good time. Hats, shirts, mugs, stickers, dogs, and cars. And like, subscribe, and ring the bell. And Wes, let's get into the news, and then we will just cry for a little while.
Depending on who you are, you're either crying tears of joy or you're just wallowing in the end of your life already because that was it. All right, so here's the news. Keon Coleman dealing with a wrist injury. He's expected to miss at least this week. Stick around for Studs and Duds. I'm going to talk about some of these Bills wide receivers coming up. The details about Dak Prescott's hamstring injury indicate it's going to be more than 4 weeks for him to recover. Read some reports that the bone, the muscle just tore off the bone in some areas. He has not officially been placed on IR, so for those that do want to keep him, that sucks because come Monday, he'll be questionable again. But that's the details right now. And for the CeeDee Lamb owners, you're going to have Cooper Rush, maybe Trey Lance for some time. Bryce Young, he's the starter. Named the starter. Andy Dalton, healthy. Bryce Young is going to start in Germany. And speaking of starters, Chuba Hubbard signed a 4-year deal with Carolina. And this is a Fourth and Troll exclusive. Inside sources, I grew up in North Carolina, so I know these things. They then took Jonathan Brooks and beat him up in an alley right after. Because why? Why would you draft a second-round running back? And then, anyway, he's supposed to suit up, but we'll see what even the point is. All right, Devonta Smith did not practice due to a hamstring injury, but then he did practice on Thursday, so just keep that in mind as his questionable tag going into Sunday's matchup. Trevor Lawrence, very unlikely to play. Consider him out. Mac Jones will be starting for the Jacksonville Jaguars on Sunday. Darius Slayton is still in concussion protocol. Reports said he didn't even fly to Germany with the Giants to play, so he's definitely out if he didn't even show up in the right continent for that. Michael Pittman Jr. has yet to practice this week. Will Levis fully practiced this week and ready to start against the Chargers. Tony Pollard did not practice Thursday, questionable. And last but not least, it's official. Christian McCaffrey's playing. It's official. Per Kyle Shanahan, he's playing this Sunday. Okay. That's it.
My only sliver of hope.
I know. Maybe he can put up 50 points.
Maybe he puts up 55, and then it's just even ground, even playing field. God. Please. Goodness. Let's talk about it, Wes. Let's talk about Thursday Night Football. It was a fun time. It was a great game. These two teams always end up giving us a good one. And
Slow
Ravens
first
come out on
half.
top, 35-34. Yeah, got going there in the second half for sure.
Yeah.
Just big plays, exciting plays. Didn't know what was going to happen next. It was like, oh my goodness, Baltimore is just taking the lead. And then it was like, oh, okay, one play, let's go like 80 yards or whatever it was down in Jamar Chase. Break down some of these guys we talked about here on Tuesday. Our must starts and risky starts coincided, actually, just flipped. So we talked about Mike Gesicki and Chase Brown. There was cautious optimism about both of these guys. Now, Mike Gesicki got a little hosed because Jamar Chase had like 260 receiving yards. So a bit of a bummer there, but he got 9 targets. So the process was there. We knew the volume was there. Bummer that he didn't get more. He had some very strong non-calls against him as well. I feel like he was getting tackled at certain points before.
And the 2-point conversion at the end. He couldn't even get his hand up in time before he got tackled. But it's there.
So
7 points.
7 points. Whatever. You'll take it, here and there and everywhere. And Chase Brown, guy we talked about last week, Wes, he was your stud. He has now fully taken this job due to Zach Moss being out with a neck injury indefinitely, likely to miss the full season.
Yeah.
They traded for Khalil Herbert at the trade deadline. That wasn't much of like that said more about Zach Moss being out, at least to me, than it did about Chase Brown losing a job or anything like that. But tough matchup. Only 43 yards on the ground, but he gets in the end zone. 12 targets in this game. 9 for 52 in the air is wild. Wild numbers there. So good stuff there. If you started Chase Brown, definitely exciting. He's got to be a lock, right? At least. And the thing is, where he was drafted or where he was maybe dropped to waivers and you picked him up, congrats on your lock for your flex for the rest of the year, right? Like, is that more or less?
Shout out to my friend Marlo, who has you can slot 2 running backs and a flex option. He's got Saquon Barkley, David Montgomery, Joe Mixon, and Chase Brown. So he's got to bench one of them. Shout out to this guy.
Sorry,
who
Chase.
Just has all the best running backs.
Don't know if you're going to make it into Marlo's lineup a whole lot, but
sorry, never.
Bummer.
But yes.
Anyways,
otherwise he's a lot.
He's in there.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. Special shout out to the dude that talked trash about me in a dynasty league when I traded for Chase Brown this offseason.
Oh,
sorry. I've been holding on to that for a little bit. Dude.
I didn't know that.
It was like traded for a running back who did nothing. Okay. And I was like, all right. Well, let's just watch how this goes.
Good for you.
So that was pretty cool.
Victory lap Friday.
Exciting stuff.
For Noah Brown Selby.
And then knocked our don't starts out of the park there. Justice Hill, 1.8 fantasy points, negative total yardage on the day. He just had 2 catches. So that was how he got there. But 2 carries, negative 2 yards, and 2 catches for 0 receiving yards. And then Deontay Johnson, RIP. I don't know. Like at 1.7 points, they said like he's going to be the 3rd wide receiver behind Bateman and Zay Flowers still. And apparently behind Tylan Wallace and behind Nelson Aguilar and behind 6th. Mark Andrews and probably behind Charlie Kohler by next week. Yeah, it's just
As soon as the game ended, I dropped Deontay Johnson for Tajay Spears because I'm ready. We're at the point now we got to get our running back handcuffs, make sure we're ready for playoffs when the good players are taken. I straight up dropped him. There's no point. There's no point. I'm sorry. Yeah, I believed he was going to be really great with Carolina, and he was. He's pretty good. Not anymore. Yeah. Dead season for sure.
Bummer. Anyway, we're talking about those guys. Already mentioned it. What more do you say here about Jamar Chase? 55.4 fantasy points, 11 catches on 17 targets for 264 yards and 3 touchdowns. He always has. He's due for one of these every single year. He has at least. It's usually one. It's usually a one. He's due for 1 50+ point game every single year, and you never know when it's going to come. and it was this week. And he started out the week in week 10 strong for the owners. Like I said earlier, I faced Jamar Chase and Mark Andrews. I am down 74.2-0 going into Sunday. And
you got this. You got
we'll see
this.
how it goes. We'll see how it goes. There you go. This. Yeah, but I don't have much more to say on Jamar Chase beyond it's just this is awesome, and he is This is why he goes in the first round. This is why he's one of the top wide receivers taken, because this ceiling is there, and he's been so awesome this year, especially with Burrow, and especially when T. Higgins is off the field most of the time. So.
Yeah.
Great stuff. Burrow, 41.7 fantasy points, 34 for 56, 428 yards, and 4 touchdowns. I had concerns about potentially the hand injuries still being a thing.
I did too.
And it was for the first half, or for the first 4 weeks of the year, as it is every year with the Bengals.
Yeah,
but man,
you know what we need to do?
He was getting destroyed in this game, but he just what a game! Yeah. Just what a game, dude!
It was awesome. It was
all
awesome.
Around.
Yeah, what we need to do is we draft Joe Burrow, and then with our last pick, we draft another starting quarterback. That's our starter for the first 3-4 weeks of the season, and then we get Joe Burrow in. We'll just bench Burrow for the first 4 weeks and wait for this. But all around,
oh man. I drafted Kyler in a league, and after week 1, somebody dropped Burrow because they were so he had like whatever it was, like 11 points in the first week, and I was like, well, I'm gonna go do that just in case, and it's the greatest decision I ever made because I just I'm getting carried.
Good for you.
So, but yeah, 41.7. I mean. Just phenomenal. Just I'm like looking at this list of players in this game, and it's like who do you even jump to next? I mean, that was really it on the Bengals side. Tanner Hudson, the other tight end out there, had 6 catches for 42 yards. He got in the end zone, so he and a QB sneak. By the way, what a guy!
Yeah, that was also random
under center. But beyond that, that's really it for the Bengals. Jumping over to the Baltimore side of things, Lamar Jackson, 40.9 fantasy points, 291 yards, and 4 touchdowns, 7 rushes for 33 yards, and that is deceiving when you come to the box score yardage because he ran for more than 33 yards on that one play.
In the red zone.
He dropped back 25 yards and then tight-roped up the sideline.
Yeah.
The full 25 yards and then another 14 yards or whatever on top of it. Incredible stuff there. But I mean, these are just the ceiling that makes these guys so highly drafted was fully on display in this game. And it was just ceiling performance. Unfortunately, just not for Derrick Henry. It was a slower night. You know, he was like you said, the first half. Yeah, the first half was ridiculous. We were nearly done in the first quarter, and they checked up the graphic of offensive stats by each team, and it was like the Ravens had run 3 plays and had like 2 minutes of possession, and that was it. And the Bengals were just eating at the clock and keeping it up there. But he gets 14.1 fantasy points, not necessarily anything to like burn you or anything like that.
Unless you played any of these other guys.
Unless you played against anyone else there. In that case, sorry.
Yeah.
You're screwed. You know, that's just where it's at there. But Rashad Bateman, 17.4 fantasy points, 6 for 54 and a touchdown. Tylan Wallace had the huge touchdown down the sideline there.
Yeah.
3 for 115 and a touchdown. Mark Andrews, 18.8 fantasy points, 6 for 68 and a touchdown.
Keep scoring as well.
Then I was a week early. I was just a week early on the Dud call for Zay Flowers because 7.4 fantasy points. You'd think in this shootout it would be him, and I don't think the box score. Like I'm actually shocked reading down this. It's the first time I had seen his point total for this game because even in a 7.4 point game, I felt like he was doing so much more out there.
I think probably because Bateman had like a big play, and then Tylan Wallace had a big play.
Yeah.
Lamar Jackson had big plays. Andrews had a touchdown. Henry had the touchdown as well. So like Zay Flowers stands out because he didn't score. But I mean, 6 targets is not bad.
Yeah.
I mean, and 4 catches. You know, he had really athletic kind of human joystick kind of moves. So he showed his talent. But I mean, that's where you talk about in the last episode where he, you know, is going to be out of the top 35 with this kind of stat line. So that's just how it goes sometimes.
Definitely. Yeah. I heard them refer to him as the dragonfly, and I thought that was a fantastic comparison. It's the way he kind of jolts around and moves around. But what a game. Hopefully a sign of things to come for week 10. I mean, this is awesome. This was fantastic.
More 40-point
Christian
players.
McCaffrey, you know, everyone come carry my team. H.N. and Cooper Kupp on Monday night. Carry me to a victory, please. Let's jump into some studs and duds. Everyone's favorite segment. It's a good time, and we're happy to be here. Wes, you've got quarterbacks and wide receivers. I've got running backs and tight ends. Just a refresher for anyone who doesn't know. Studs. We got 4 guys here. 4 guys who can win you your week. Make sure you have these guys in your lineup if you want to have that edge. If you want to try and make a comeback. If you face Jamar Chase, get these 4 guys in your lineup. They will help you do that. On the flip side, duds. 4 guys who are going to tank your game, tank your week, get them out of the lineup. And you might be surprised by a couple of these guys because they're definitely guys that you would think would be somebody that you wouldn't even think about. So let's jump into it, Wes. Take it away with the quarterback studs and duds.
You're good. That was fun to watch.
Thanks.
I could see you editing that in your head for social media. You did that really well. You laid it out.
Yeah,
I'm excited.
You know,
I like that. It was good.
You shoot for the edit sometimes.
Yeah, that brought a lot of energy, and I'm gonna carry this in. I just want to compliment you on that. Okay, so stud, do or die. This is the last shot for me on this quarterback because if he doesn't have a fantastic week, I question whether you should even roster him. Okay, my stud is Tua Tagovailoa. Monday night against the Los Angeles Rams. Have we not learned so far this season that these wide receivers have some of the best games of their season, nay, careers for some of them, against the Rams this year? We go back to Jamison Williams in week 1. Look at Marvin Harrison in week 2. We look at Juwan Jennings in week 3. Did you see what Jackson Smith and Jigba just did? I don't know if it's Tyreek Hill. I don't know if it's Jalen Waddle. But one of them is going to go off, maybe both, and I have to believe that this is the final shot for the Dolphins season altogether. Tua has to be a stud. I know primetime hasn't been Tua's strong suit. It's kind of the new Kirk Cousins in primetime, but this is it for Tua and the Dolphins. They have to get this win. They have to outscore this high-powered offense with Puka and Cooper Kupp and Kyrie Williams. It's like the AFC versus the NFC of the same team. Tua has to be a stud this week. Roll him out if you've got him, if you're not confident in your quarterback right now. If you got to catch up to Lamar Jackson or Joe Burrow, start Tua. Now, here's my dud. Plain and simple, very simple logic. My dud is Bo Nix. I'm not going to start a rookie quarterback against the Chiefs. I'm just not believing in that. And I know he's been good. And I think you should keep him. I'm not saying this is a sign of things to come. Fluke for real, fluke. He's going to be just fine. But I'm not going to hedge my bets on a game where I have to catch up to Joe Burrow or Lamar Jackson or Jamar Chase or any of these guys from Thursday night with a rookie quarterback against Steve Spagnuolo. Tell me who on that Broncos offensive line is going to be able to stop Chris Jones. In what way is Bo Nix ready for this in his first matchup against Kansas City? The undefeated, he's going to go against Mahomes. All of it does not spell a very good week. That's why Bo Nix is my dud.
Yeah, I love it and hate it all at the same time because I love Bo Nix and you don't want to see him fail, but this is going to be a tough one for sure. So definitely agree with you there.
Later.
Jump into my running back studs here. My running back stud, James Conner up against the New York Jets. Running backs against the Jets are averaging 25 carries, and in games with 20-plus carries, James Conner averages 24.3 fantasy points throughout his career. You can't really pass on the Jets. It's not what you do to beat them. We saw it with Joe Mixon. We saw it with Ray Davis. We saw it with Najee Harris. We saw it with you run, you ground and pound, because that is where they are exploitable. Arizona is going to have to run the football. And don't bank on an Amari DiMercato 50-yard touchdown at the end of the first half again. It's going to be James Conner. The Jets are allowing 103 rushing yards per game to running backs, and Conner has some sneaky PPR upside as well. 5th in running back targets over the past 5 games. Roll out James Conner. I know you might be a little worried here because it's the Jets' strong defense. What do we do here? Don't fret. He's going to ball out. He's going to be your guy. Now my running back dud. Disappointing to talk about. We've talked about him many times on the show here. It's Tank Bigsby going up against the Minnesota Vikings. Bigsby has had 2 fantastic games. They've been awesome for you for fantasy football. Hopefully you started him because we told you to. We told you to pick up off the waiver wire. We told you to get him in your lineup. Hopefully you started him then. He had a decent game against Green Bay. And besides those 3 games, he's averaging 5.2 fantasy points. He isn't involved in the passing game whatsoever. He has 5 targets all year. He is nursing an ankle injury. Travis Etienne is going to be another week back. And Minnesota really stops the run. They have the 4th fewest rush attempts on them on the season. They do not run the football against Minnesota. They are exploitable in the receiving game, however, to those running backs, averaging 6 targets a game to running backs, but those are going to go to Travis Etienne and maybe even Dearness Johnson. So we had some really good spike weeks, but I just don't trust, 1, up against this matchup, and 2, the game script for the Jaguars, especially without Trevor Lawrence, to be able to just run the football and give Tank Bigsby the opportunity. So he is my dud in week 10.
You can even argue, as you're talking, I started thinking you could even argue that like maybe no Jaguars should be in anyone's lineup.
I would agree there as well. It's just if the PPR upside pans out for you. But I'm almost with you. I was almost just Jaguars backfield. Like it was almost that.
I mean, I almost would even go as far as say Brian Thomas Jr. could even be a potential dud with Mac Jones, but if it gets a score, you're happy. But yeah, it's going to be rough. James Conner against any of these AFC East teams, I'm totally with you. This will be a great game for him. Now, okay, wide receivers. Tease this in our new segment, okay? Keon Coleman has a wrist injury. He's not going to play this week, okay? And if he does, he's going to be having a really rough game, okay? But let's assume Keon Coleman does not play, because I believe he won't. There's a wide receiver on this team, okay, that has played with Josh Allen for 3 years now, okay? It's Khalil Shakir. And this absolutely feels like this is a great Shakir game, okay? They're going up against a pretty decent team to go to get receivers points with, okay? So last game, okay, they played against the 10th best team, the 10th worst pass defense in fantasy, okay? Now they're going up against the 11th worst pass defense, okay? Khalil Shakir is set up for an incredible game without Keon Coleman, Josh Allen playing against the Colts. It's going to be a fantastic opportunity. It just perfectly spells out Khalil Shakir. That's why Amari Cooper is the stud for this week. Why? Because it makes perfect sense. And you know this. Everyone knows this. This is supposed to be the Shakir game. This is supposed to be for the people that have held on to this guy all season. Like, when do I start him? He's too good to drop and not good enough to start. Oh, Keon Coleman's not playing. Okay, now I can fire him up. And then you're going to find out that he is terrible. And Amari Cooper finally has his great Buffalo Bills game. That's the stud. and the dud. Shakir's the dud because it makes too much sense, and there's no reason Amari Cooper would be great this week. So you have to put him in your lineup, especially if you play Jamar Chase. You have nothing to lose now. You've already lost. You might as well go for the upside. At least try something with Amari Cooper. I believe it because I know how this works. We've seen it before. It makes too much logical sense. Amari Cooper's a stud. Khalil Shakir is my dud. End of story. I know it to be true.
It's just so like the year of fantasy football for it to be like Cooper scored in his first game.
Yeah.
And then he was nowhere in his second game. And now he's going to be on everyone's bench. And everyone's going to be like, Shakir's the guy. And then Cooper scores 30 points. So there,
absolutely.
I'm in agreement. There you go. Yeah, definitely. Wide receiver studs and duds out of Buffalo there. Jump over to tight ends here with me. My tight end stud, Zach Ertz, up against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Steelers are allowing at least 4 targets or a touchdown in each of their last 5 games to tight ends. And then the season, they're averaging 7 targets to the tight end position. We just saw Zach Ertz get 11 targets up against a tough Chicago Bears defense. I believe that the ball is going to be going to Zach Ertz early and often here with Jaden Daniels getting the ball out. I think he's going to be a reliable target as he has all year. And Zach Ertz, before the last week, it was pretty disappointing, had been in the double-digit points 3 straight weeks. So exciting stuff there for Zach Ertz. He is a safety net for Jaden Daniels. Keep him in your lineup there. If you have him, he's going to be a great shot. And here we go. I'm doubling down. Okay? My tight end dud is Sam Laporta up against the Houston Texans. I should have known. Okay? It was National Tight End Day. I should have known some buffoonery was going to happen. Yeah, okay? I called him a dud 2 weeks ago. And he had his best game of the season. He scored like 15 or 16 fantasy points. Texans are the number 1 defense against tight ends this season. They are allowing just 20 receiving yards per game to tight ends. My last dud call failed on Laporta. This one will not. Guess what? Everyone was saying, "Oh, without Jameson Williams, he's gonna be great." He scored 16 points in the first game without Jameson Williams. You know what he did the next game? He went right back to his usual production. 3 targets, 2 catches, 28 yards in a game they scored 52 mother effing points in. They scored 52 points in the game, and Sam Laporta had 2 catches for 28 yards. Get him out of your lineup. He's going to lose you the week, okay? I'm doubling down. I am confident Sam Laporta is a tight end dud in week 10.
I hope you're right.
Me too.
I hope you're right.
So
not just for your sake.
At some point because I already faced Jamar Chase. Like I need something here for myself.
Yeah, but that's the way that Laporta season has gone. I mean, I traded for him in Dynasty League because they wanted Joe Flacco. Okay, you can have that. But I have not started Laporta. Yeah. So like even in Dynasty, it's like there's no real reason to start Laporta. You can actually probably find better waiver wire options on available in a lot of leagues. So it's weird. He's been one of the biggest busts this season.
Yeah, definitely. That's it. Let us know if you faced Jamar Chase, and we will give you our condolences in the comments down below. While you're down there, like, subscribe, and ring the bell. And we will see you guys on Tuesday. Make sure you follow us on all our socials, and we will be getting stuff out there for you there as well. Patreon.com/4thandtrollfantasy if you would like to win a signed James Cook jersey. We're giving that away this year. And you can jump into our Discord. We're always having a good time there as well. 4thandtrollstore.com for merch. And we will see you next time. My name is Noah Selby.
And I'm Wes Selby.
And this has been 4th and Troll Fantasy.
4th and Troll Fantasy is a production of FQ Media and Selby Artistic Workshop.